All right. I'm going to start off by telling you the four things that I posted on the last video in the comment section. One of them is a video of Waylon Lolatai and people that he assaulted after assaulting me. There's four people in that video that he assaulted after assaulting me, and one of them who he assaulted prior to joining the Boulder Police Department. He is not the only officer who assaulted me with that MO. There is also Officer Burke from Broomfield who assaulted me for trying to turn in Officer Lolatai, as well as other officers who took part in this. In retaliation, I was also assaulted repeatedly in Boulder County Jail and strapped to a chair, which, by the way, I am the only person in Boulder County history to ever slip out of the chair. They attempted to bully me, threaten me, harass me, intimidate me, and assault me into committing suicide while playing as if I was trying to commit suicide as their excuse for doing so. Hey, Christian.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, you think you could give me about 20 minutes? I'm posting a video for some lawyers.
Okay. About what?
About the situation with Natalie Bollinger and everything that I was forced to go through afterwards because public pretenders in Colorado were not doing their jobs, were working for the prosecution, repeatedly not showing up to court dates, not showing up to scheduled meetings, not looking at evidence, doing everything in their power and making every excuse that they could not to do their jobs. In addition, because more people were harmed because these people didn't do their jobs, these people further went out of their way to, well, I'll explain it to the video. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye. That's a friend of mine. He's schizophrenic. He's not a bad dude, though. As soon as these officers like Waylon Lolatai got a big head on his shoulders because he got away with doing what he did to me, he felt quite liberal, we'll use that bolder term, quite liberal about assaulting people that he thought were homeless after that. He wasn't the only one who did this. Now, Clearview, I spoke out about them as well. In Clearview, the things that I spoke out about them doing, they killed a man that very same year doing that exact same thing. The two biggest issues that I was explaining, three biggest issues that I was explaining about Clearview is number one, them holding you longer than they should have to collect more money. Number two, assaulting people in there. And number three, drugging them when they didn't need to be drugged. I was attempting to get a police officer there. Because of my disabilities, which include sensory overload, that means that if there's a train going by, it breaks my concentration and I can't function. If there are people snapping at me or yelling at me, it breaks my concentration and I can't function. I shut down. The police knew this. Now, the fact that it resulted in at least 4 deaths because these officers got away with doing the things that I was saying that they were doing, but I was treated like I was a liar. The news magically did care when these people killed somebody, but they still didn't care that I had spoken out first. Now, there's a situation also with a woman in Montana who was killed. I spoke out about the women in Montana being killed on these reservations almost a full year before Selena Not Afraid was killed. In the same exact way that they have been killing people there for years, in the same exact way that the Boulder police officers have murdered homeless people in Boulder, Colorado for years. It's called exposure to the elements. It's a racket. Boulder County Cares passes out those blankets until 10:30 at night. At 10:30 at night, those blankets become illegal. Taxpayers pay Boulder County Cares to deliver those blankets, and then it pays Boulder officers to arrest people for using said blankets. This is unconstitutional. We have the right to life. That's the very first one there. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Constitution of the United States is a socialist manifesto. It starts off with the words, "We the people." And I do not agree with the entire Constitution. However, the First Amendment to the Constitution was violated repeatedly. The Second Amendment to the Constitution is to protect the First Amendment to the Constitution. Therefore, people without firearms are easier to victimize, easier to have their First Amendment denied them. Now, in this right here, I'm going to post links to Darren O'Connor. You gotta love those. The fact is, this abuse that I endured was not just in the state of Colorado, it was across multiple jurisdictions. They used every evil, nasty, filthy little trick that they could to prevent me from being able to speak up in court, to be able to turn in those officers or those public pretenders. See, they didn't really feel the need to listen to me. But when these other people ended up being killed, they had to do everything in their power. This is where it becomes a conspiracy. Everything in their power to cover up the wrongdoing of these officers that I had spoken out about. And these officers and public pretenders and judges, including Kathleen M. Jansky and who is the other one? I said his name in the first video, so it doesn't matter. And two other judges whose names I do not have. Now, the things that were done to me aren't just immoral, they're also illegal. I literally had to break the law to defend myself against vigilantes, child molesters, and rapists. Oh yeah, and drug dealers. I had my disability money taken from me. I had my housing taken from me. I was abused repeatedly across the United States because although the assault against me by Waylon Lolotai was dropped, the assault against a police officer when I was the one who was assaulted is still on my arrest record, and police who see that treat me accordingly. There is a woman named Ryan Ingersoll, and well, this bullshit extended to Washington State. It extended to Wyoming. It extended to Nebraska. It extended all the way to Virginia. I was forced into extreme situations by these criminals breaking the law for monetary gain. They didn't think that I mattered enough to actually do their jobs. Now, in the links or in the comments below this, I am going to post up from Darren O'Connor, the conversations between him and I. I'm going to post up the conversations between Mandy Hughes and I, the conversation between Alyssa Rainwater and I, conversations between Miss Peaches, aka Kayla Trujillo, and I. There is a lot of stuff that I am incapable of doing without the right environment. Drugging me and assaulting me at no point in time was ever the right thing to do. But after Natalie was killed, the Boulder police were hell of invested, especially being as it was all over the news. They were hella invested in making sure that the crimes that they committed never saw a day in court. Now, they weren't the only ones who took part in this. There are also conversations between myself and these public pretenders' offices where their representatives on the telephones there told me things that were obviously incorrect. They stuck up for the wrong people. They stuck their necks out for the wrong people. And the things that they said are recorded here on my YouTube, including, well, a whole bunch of stuff that they did to allow these criminals to get away with it, including rewarding them for it. Amanda Balehash is now a judge in Adams County, where this police harassment first started after Natalie disappeared, where the police wrongdoing first started after Natalie disappeared, and their cover-up of the wrongdoing of officers first started after Natalie disappeared. They were covering up for officers who had done wrong before Natalie disappeared. Their failure to take the report or take me seriously put me at risk. The Bollinger family, there is a Facebook page that I am, or a Facebook group that I am in charge of now. It belonged to Katie Cahill, by the way. I will post her links down here. Matter of fact, you know what? Since all of that stuff is in, well, not all of it, there's a few more of them that I'll have to add to it, but I'll just post the link to Four Peaches the Liar. I will post that in the link description here. And you can take a look at the over 100 recorded conversations between myself and witnesses. Mind you, I made all of those recordings after most of these people were prevented from making a report to the police, prevented from being heard by the courts, including Steve Tombleson, very important witness, because these weren't the only public pretenders that I had to deal with. I was repeatedly slandered not only by the Bollinger family and their cronies and the police. I was additionally slandered by judges. Imagine that. I literally broke the law and threatened to kill the President of the United States to try to force an outside agency to take a look. I called many lawyers. I also spoke to these lawyers that I had, or public pretenders, I should say, about the abuse that I was enduring in the jails, including, let me show you this. Now, mind you, none of the evidence that you are going to see, except for what's in one tiny bag there on the floor, none of it was pertaining to the Natalie Bollinger case. All of it pertains to what happened to me because of what happened to Natalie Bollinger. I want you to take a look at that pile there. Look at this over here. Look at this over here. Look at all of that. You see that giant mess? Yeah. That's because I have to try to organize it through severe panic attacks and severe mental trauma caused by what these people did. I literally slandered a friend of mine's name. Why? To get her to defend herself in a court of law so that I could force this evidence to be seen. It doesn't matter to me whether you like what I've done or not. It doesn't actually matter to me whether what I have done is illegal or not. Do you know why? Because when I took these issues to the police, I was told that they're not against the law. And so I did those things myself, and I was charged with crimes for them. How is it illegal for me? But it is not illegal for these people. How is it okay to abuse a disabled human being? It wasn't just slander. It was slander resulting in multiple deaths, multiple assaults. And that's what Pamela Cardi was covering up when she repeatedly didn't show up to court. When other public pretenders were filling in for her. You know, when I was supposed to have my pre-trial, it was already too late for them to have a pre-trial. They did not allow any of that evidence in there, and their offices of these public pretenders blamed it on the DA. It's the DA's fault. The DA didn't give them the evidence. It's the DA's fault that they didn't have the body cameras from these police officers. It's the DA's fault. Really? Is the district attorney my public pretender? No. So, yeah, have fun with that. You could prove me wrong about you guys, David Lane and Alan. Let me see what it says here. Alan Chaney. You can prove me wrong by picking up my case. You can prove me wrong by looking into it. Here's the thing. If you prove me wrong, you're going to be proving me right.